try to anyway. There must be a reason we end up at the same place at the same time. It happens every time when we're around. We always see each other in the crowd. Our friends just roll their eyes and say, here we go again. The story never ends. Heart beats fast when you come closer, and they all say that I should know better, but I can't stop, can't fight this feeling anymore. Oh, the story never ends. The story never ends. Oh, the story never ends. The Went out tonight just to have a good time. I tried to distract myself from thinking too much, but when I saw you, I went back to the start. Whoa, and there's just no resisting when I see your face. Can't stop myself from moving your way. There must be a reason we end up at the same place at the same time. It happens every time when we're around. We always see each other in the crowd. Our friends just roll their eyes and say, you.
Hi Nimfam, and welcome to the FPL Late Show. Hope you're all good and having a good week. As you can see, I am joined by my regular host, Ellie Amira, but we are also joined by our first guest on the show, Holly Shand. Holly is a big name in the FPL community, as you guys know, and regularly features on official shows, flying the flag for us females. And she's also my Q&A host on this very channel, every FPL Wednesday. Thanks for joining us, Holly. How are you?
Thank you, Niam. I'm good, thank you. It's been a busy week, hasn't it? But I feel like now we've got to Thursday evening, I'm in a better place in terms of what I'm doing with my FPL squad this week.
Good, you can tell us all about that later. Mez, you're continuing your stellar season. I can't wait to hear all about it a bit later when we talk about our teams, but how has your week been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I'm actually looking forward to the break now, getting to that point where I'm like, yeah, there's too much to juggle. But yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, it's been a great week.
Yeah, and been watching lots of cricket, I see on Twitter.
Yeah. I know it's a really tough one because I'm of Indian origin. I'm from the UK, so I support England, but now I live in Australia, so it's a tough one. So I was trying to be neutral yesterday. I can help cheer on Joss Butler and the England crew. So yeah, really happy for them.
Yeah, cricket goes a bit like this with me. Ellie, how are you doing, my lovely? I won't rib you too much about the Arsenal win over Chelsea, you know, because we did terrible last night. So yeah. How are you?
Yeah, we're out of the cup too, so yeah, been a tough week as a Chelsea fan, and yeah, I'm a bit tired. I'm not going to lie, but I'm super excited to be here with you girls, and hopefully to get some advice because I still have not made up my mind about what I want to do with my team. I've changed it about 100 times so far. So
it's all good. It's all good. Honestly, I'm here for that as well. But first of all, we'll move on to our first segment, the hot topics of the week. And to be honest, they're much the same as last week with a few added extras. First, of course, being the website crash yet again. It's not a great look when Andy Murray is calling you out on how bad the site is before deadline, really, is it? Holly, were you affected? And what's your thoughts? How are you thinking we can improve the situation potentially?
Yeah, so like everyone, we got that leak, didn't we, that Haaland and Foden were on the bench. I didn't quite believe it at first, and I tuned into a few streams to see what everyone else was doing. Moved the captaincy from Haaland to Salah, so that worked out quite well. Then I tried to transfer Foden out for Mahrez, which didn't happen, thank goodness, for a hit as well. And he wasn't starting anyway, so that would have been a nightmare. So I kind of got away with it. It worked to my advantage last week, but this week I'm doing the Sky Sports FPL show at the deadline, so I just need to lock in and hope for the best on that one. There is an ad break, but there's too much going on to concentrate on trying to get FPL transfers made as well. But I don't know what the solution is. To be honest, it's got to the point now where I think FPL just need to sort the servers out so that this doesn't happen.
Yeah, because I know you were thinking that a kickoff deadline would be a good idea before. Have you gone off the idea of that a little bit?
Yeah, because I think you're just going to pass the problem forwards in terms of on a lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday, for example. You're then going to have leaks for the 3 o'clock games. Like, as I mentioned yesterday, that video that we got was, quite well prepared with information that had been available to those that were recording it a few hours before it went live. So I don't think it'll fix anything by moving the deadline forwards or backwards, really.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Mez?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I actually have spent most of the season so far getting in the transfers in early, just because I was traveling for a lot of it as well, and just got into a bit of a habit of pulling the trigger a little bit early, like a day, couple of days, sometimes a week, just because I didn't have signal. And this was the first time that I left it to the 11th hour, not even 11th hour, the last sort of 10 minutes or so. And yeah, I feel like I got really lucky because, I sort of pulled the trigger. It then sort of blanked out on me. Same sort of issue that I think everyone has had who was, waiting for the last minute sort of team news as well. The thing is, I was holding Foden and Haaland. And so for me, it was like, okay, if Foden's not starting and Haaland's not starting, that's points that I'm losing, all round in that sort of City lineup. So I knew I was going to need to pull the trigger on both players, and I had 2 free transfers. So finally I managed to get through, and I, got really lucky. I brought in KDB and Alvarez, really last minute. But funnily enough, I actually had my armband on KDB, knowing that I would probably want to captain KDB. In hindsight, of course, I would have gone with Alvarez because that was a, great sort of, match for him. But it was so frustrating. It was just really frustrating because I didn't really know if it had gone through as well. And then I finally got into the app and it finally sort of showed me my team. And then it just went straight over to deadline as well. I do think a kickoff deadline makes a lot of sense. It just means that you've got a good sort of hour before the kickoff where everyone gets the same advantage of getting news about what's happening. And now you could argue that it's going to be the same issue with the bandwidth of the website crashing as well. But actually, that's a whole hour that people start making their transfers versus the last sort of 15, 20 minutes or 5 minutes, when the leaks sort of start sort of coming up.
Yeah.
Is it unfair? I'm not sure. I'm sort of new to FPL and this world to sort of have a deeper sort of understanding of like what the ramifications of that could be as well. I know there's a lot of sort of, there's a lot of like money leagues and things like that. But I do think like it's 2022, you'd think that, FPL, their website would be better equipped for the bandwidth of people that would be hammering it, especially with the player base that they're trying to target as well. So, do better, try and sort of increase the bandwidth on the last sort of half an hour of the deadline.
So I've been a Sky player for the last season and this season, and that does have a deadline kickoff. And I keep saying deadline, kickoff deadline even. But yeah, it's I don't mind it personally. I really quite like it because there's only, I mean, it's rare that you're going to get 3 early City games in a row. So, you know, every now and again, that early match is really going to be quite irrelevant for a lot of people's teams anyway. And Holly did mention, I guess you could get leaks for the 3 o'clock game. I guess you could really, but I think it somewhat makes it fairer. And with the World Cup coming up as well, I'm pretty sure those games are, you know, deadline kickoffs as well. So kickoff deadlines even. So you know, I think for me that's probably where I would go with it, if, you know, just to make it fairer, because I feel sorry for people who are, you know, setting alarms in countries here, there and everywhere, and then they're waking up and they're hoping, I guess, for a little bit of news that may or may not be correct, and at least this point they can set their alarm knowing there's an hour to go. This is like
Sounds like midweek games for us over here in
yeah,
Australia.
exactly. At least then you can kind of wake up, know you've got an hour's worth of solid information, and then, you know, you can take your time with it. What about yourself, Ellie? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I wasn't affected last week. I tend to always make my transfers a little bit earlier. Maybe that strategy isn't the best. I kind of go back and forth between trying to beat price rises and price falls and waiting. And with Foden, I was kind of just hoping to give it another week. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to see if he starts this game. And if he doesn't, then I'll make a decision. So I was kind of settled on keeping him in my team just for the week, because I have a tendency to transfer players out as soon as they're about to get like some crazy points. So I wasn't affected, but I really feel for everybody that was, and that they're strategizing super hard, even harder than me, and waiting to the last moment, because you should be able to make your transfers up until it closes. So it's just something that they really need to sort out. It's taking the fun out of the game for a lot of people, I think.
That's it. Like when I was in uni, like even if I turned up 5 minutes afterwards with the piece of paper, they'd be like, yeah, sure, it's only 5 minutes, you know. And it's like, that's a deadline, you know. That's an actual deadline, and yet they're still taking the papers in 5 minutes later. So, you know, even if they could just, I don't even know if it's possible, even if they could just leave a 5 minute, 10 minute, you know, extension the other side, just for a little bit of leeway. I'm not sure. Hopefully there's a solution on the way.
I feel like that's what happened, right? It seems like a lot of people, they didn't know, like I think for you as well, Nim, like you didn't know whether your
Had no
transfers actually
idea.
went through, and it seemed like it, you know, it didn't, but it
Yeah.
actually did go through. So I wonder if they are sort of doing that on the other side. It doesn't make it okay, but you know, like because you're having a mild panic attack.
Well, yeah, I mean, as it was, I should have just would have been better off leaving my team as it was. I would have been better off, but that's not the point. I did want to make those transfers, and so I got those transfers, and I, you know, and I lived them. So, you know, but as you say, not knowing, I definitely would have changed my captain, for instance. So, yeah, you know, hopefully it's all good. We love the game, and I'm sure they'll come up with some really cool solution for us. But beyond the crash, we did have benchings for Haaland and Foden again. So, Ellie, Foden is still driving you bananas.
I love that was the video that you put on Twitter, and everybody was like, he's driving me bananas too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, at least I'm not alone. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm so gutted because I have my armband on Almiron, and I took it off and put it on Haaland because I was like, oh, I heard news that maybe he's starting, blah, blah, blah. And then he didn't, and it would have been better, but to put it on Almiron. But I was like, is he actually going to keep up scoring? And he did. Yeah, but I would love your thoughts on Foden because he didn't start versus Chelsea. I don't think he featured, if I'm remembering the game correctly, but I completely blacked it out since we were out. Right now he's in my team. I haven't made any transfer. I'm kind of debating where how to play it if I just hold him, because since he was benched, maybe he does start again Brentford. But then I also saw on Twitter people were saying, oh, but maybe he's just benched and because of the World Cup, so he doesn't get injured and risk injury. I don't know which way it's going. What do you guys think?
Well, we'll definitely delve into more of that when we get
Okay.
around to your team. But I think probably more likely, just in the quick short answer, and I don't know if Holly agrees, but I think it is more likely now that he starts on the weekend with being benched. So
Yeah, I've got to agree there. Foden was like on my transfer out list for this week, and then after seeing him in the squad but not featuring, I'm now happier to hold him.
yeah, Mez, it worked out okay for you, right? The Haaland Foden benching thing.
Yeah, it did, but I knew I was banking in a hit for this game week now, so I knew I was going to have to do that. And so I'm a little bit annoyed, because I wanted to actually go into game week 16 with 2 transfers, and so I was, trying to just do the one. But yeah, look, it is what it is. I got the points. I think I calculated it was something like 8 points extra that I gained from that. So
Yeah, that's okay.
you can
then.
kind of do okay -4, the math going in my head, trying to work out, is this worth it? Is this worth it? It's like risk. But yeah, look, I'm happy that I did it. It could have, like, Alvarez could have gone on longer, right? And I think if Cancelo hadn't got his red card, and I know, we may talk about that in a moment, but if he hadn't have got his red card, it probably would have been a different game as well. Like, I don't know if Haaland would have actually come on as
Oh,
well.
Cancelo, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So with Cancelo's red card, it sort of changed the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I was actually hoping that Alvarez would have got a bigger haul or something, but it's okay. I've got to take what I can get. But now I've got this headache of trying to work out, do I reverse those moves, exact move, and go KDB back to Foden, and then, Alvarez back to Haaland, but I'm also sort of deliberating not touching Foden as well, just because, I don't know, I brought him in for a couple of game weeks and it hasn't worked out, so I've kind of got this Foden bias at the moment, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and of course, we just have to, before we move on, touch upon Ellie breaking Wilson for everybody.
It happens with like every player. I don't know what it is. All of the Chelsea fans are like, do not put Chelsea players in your team. Like, you're not allowed to have Chelsea players, because I will like curse all of them. They will not return as soon as they're in my team. I don't think I've had Chelsea players like the entire season. But yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, not the best move. I think a lot of fantasy managers were sold on him and hoping that
we all weighed him down for Mez, didn't we? We did warn her last week that it was going to happen.
We did. So he's kind of one on my list that I'm thinking, I just transferred him in, but do I sell him? I'm not sure how he's gonna get on, but we can talk about that in a bit.
We can talk on that a bit, because we do have a bit of information on that. So we'll move on to our collective differential, and we brought to you one player under 10% owned for the next game week in this stream, but it will be for the next 3 game weeks when we come back after the World Cup and Christmas. So we're just having a 1 week punt this week before we show you this week's punt. We did well, ladies, with our collective punt of Maddison. He got 2 assists. Ellie, you had him in your team. You must have been absolutely chuffed.
Yes, one of the things that worked out for me last game week. And as you ladies know, I've had him in my team for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he had done well at the beginning, then he kind of drifted off a bit. And so you told me to keep him, to hold on to him, and I did. And I was very happy about it, that he got the attacking returns. And he's actually one of the English players I saw with the most attacking returns in the last year or so. So yeah, I was happy about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, with that, we'll move on to our collective differential for this week. And we have gone for Robertson 4% owned, and Southampton up next. We're thinking he can nab a little something, Holly.
Yeah, exactly. And Liverpool have got a really good chance of keeping a clean sheet this weekend, which is obviously key for Robertson. But I just liked the positions that he's taken up in the Spurs game. I don't know if that's a reflection on Spurs defending or, Robertson getting further forward than Trent, but he certainly looked sharp. He's probably due another attacking return soon. So it's going to be an interesting pick this week, but one that I'm excited about.
Yeah, Mira, are you considering Robertson?
I'm not at the moment. Just for the moment, I actually brought in Robertson right from the get-go. So I think I had Trent and Robbo in my game week 1 draft. And Liverpool didn't start off very well, and so between the two, I had to weigh it up, like which one's going to get the most attacking returns. And I think Trent had the highest sort of EO back then, so I dropped Robbo, and I feel very sad. Sorry, Robbo. But at the same time, I have considered bringing him in. Over the last sort of 10 game weeks that I haven't had him as well. But not on my radar at the moment, just because I have other problems to sort out in my team. But I think he's a really, really good pick just because of the positions he got into in his last game. But also he's got a high ceiling as well. Like if he gets going, he's getting into the box a lot as well. And so loving to see that a bit more.
Yeah, Ellie, after your defender punt last week not working out, are you keen to replace him with a pool defender maybe?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth with my team. So I think at the moment I'm okay with my defense. I don't know. I'm really undecided, as you can see, what I want to do with my team. I don't think I'm looking at it now. It's definitely convincing the fixture, the positions that he's getting into for 1 week punt could be a potentially good option. I certainly have the money in my bank to do it as well, but I'm just trying to weigh up like where I want to make my transfer at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. And I too have a ridiculous amount of money in my bank. I think I almost have enough for Robertson himself in my bank at the moment, just from the transfers. So I could definitely get him in. But as you say, with all these other fires, like Rich being out and things like that, he's potentially going to go amiss for me this week, but I would have loved to if I'd had no other fires to put out for sure, because I think he's going to be a great punt this week. Okay, next up we have our 1 week punt game. So if you missed it last week, we each chose a punt for under 10% owned and for 1 game week only, which works out quite well this week. And we're going to give points like FPL for anything they do. So you'll be able to see that on screen now. And before we talk through our picks, Ellie, how did we get on last game week, please? When we come into the new year, I think I'll do like a little table just to keep everyone updated. But if you could just fill us in for now, please.
Yeah, of course. So your pick name was Rodrigo. He got 1 goal, so that was 5 points. Mira picked Eze. He got an assist, 3 points. I went total punt Estupinian. No clean sheets, no assists, nothing, 0 points. I was actually really surprised that they conceded 2 versus Wolves. And then the group picked Darwin. He got 1 assist for 3 points. So that's where we're standing right now.
So I'm in lead. Mira and the guest / chat are leading, and Ellie, this week you'll catch us up, I believe. So guys, in the chat, do get in who your 1 week punt would be. And I could probably do a poll again like we did last week if you like, and you can kind of play along a little bit. But Holly is going to take the baton for you guys this week. And as Ellie said, Darwin getting off with a great start for the guests and the chat, Holly there. So you have the baton now to carry on the torch, so to speak. Who is your pick? Would you like to talk us through them, please.
I feel like I've got a lot of pressure and responsibility on my shoulders now. I've gone with Dominic Solanke though, because I feel like Bournemouth have looked in quite good goal scoring form in recent games, having gone through a spell of struggling for goals. They're seeming to be finding their feet in the Premier League now, and Solanke is the talisman of the side. He's on penalties. He plays 90 minutes every game, and Everton at home is a pretty good fixture for him. So, I mean, he may be featuring in my own team this weekend at this rate as well.
Ooh,
so,
interesting.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, not a bad shout at all. And Mez, your punt did okay last game week. Who are you going for this game week? Basically, tell people who they should buy because you just have the Midas touch at the moment.
Oh, I don't know. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Okay.
I'm going with the ginger from Sweden. So I'm going with Kulu. So Kulu obviously makes a return after being out for about 6 game weeks, I think it's been. He had a great start to the season. I actually had him in my team at the start of the season. I think he got a goal and a couple of assists as well. He's definitely under the radar at the moment just because he's just come back, but I love that he picked up an assist. And so that's been, fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
I think he was only on for like 22 minutes or something. He is a minutes risk, so that is the downside of that. But I'm definitely considering him for my team. And I think I believe Richarlison's out as well. And obviously Son's out at the moment. We're not playing. So yeah, I think from that point of view, Conte's got to play him a bit more, I imagine. So I reckon he could probably get like 60 on the weekend. So that's my punt for the week.
Cool. Well, I've had a bit of fun with my punt this week to give you all a chance to catch up with me. I'm being really cocky now, and this will be terrible. I've gone with Ramsey as, he had a bit of a fun ride last week. When I say he was literally involved in everything, he was involved in everything, scoring for both his own team and for United with the goal apiece, and then making it up with 2 assists as well. He had a 75 pass completion rate with 54 touches on the ball and 10 final third touches in the last game and looked all over everything. If he's in Emery's plans going forward, and he should be after that, then he's a great differential of 5.2 million and just 0.9%. This is, that's ridiculous. Not only this week, but going forward. Though Brighton can be great in defence, as someone who's owned Webster the last few weeks, I can tell you Brighton have struggled defensively with their last clean sheet coming against Forest in game week 12, I believe. So you'd like to think Villa, with a new manager bounce, could nick a little something there. So yeah, that's my punt. Jacob Ramsey, good ebbing. Good ebbing, as they say. Now, Ellie, I mean, are you about to break barns for anyone who owns them?
I hope not. So for this week, I chose Harvey Barnes from Leicester. He scored 5 goals in total this season, but 3 of those goals have come in the last 5 games. So he's getting into really great form. He's only 1.7% owned, and he's £6.9, so a bit cheaper than Maddison at 8.2. And he has a similar goal return. Maddison does have more assists. But yeah, I just really like what I've been seeing from him, and I went for more of an attacking option this week since the defensive option backfired on me.
Brilliant. I'm just checking that in the poll. So is there anyone else, you girls, while I'm just doing that kind of you think could be a good shout this week? Doesn't have to be a differential, but just that people might like. Holly?
I was on mute. I kind of had picked out Perisic, but I've got a little less hot on Perisic after yesterday because he did play up front again for Spurs, but then we saw minutes for Kulusevski, minutes for Richarlison, and I think Sessegnon picked up an injury. So I think we're more likely to see Perisic play left wing back rather than left winger or left-sided forward. So I think that is going to dent his appeal a little bit now, which is a shame.
Yeah, I reckon Darwin's another good bet again, this week. Just just if you're thinking about taking Mitrovic out and bringing someone else in. Yeah, Darwin's a really good punt. He's just so close to exploding at the moment in terms of like he's getting all the chances, and although not sort of as clinical in the finishing, I just think that he could really go for it this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I've put a tweet out this afternoon basically asking if the FPL community feels that Darwin can cover Salah this week for me. But we can chat a little more about that when we get to my dreadful team. But yes, guys, I have put a couple of your options that I just saw quickly in a poll in the chat if you guys want to vote, and we'll make a note of who your choice is, and we'll keep note of that as well as we go along. But also, if you're new to the channel, then please do smash a like and subscribe. It really helps, so thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to our goals and gossip segment. And this week I have remembered the graphic, huzzah! It's beautiful. Okay, of this team we'll discuss whose goals, as in the player we would get in from our team, from this team, sorry, of the week, and who is gossip. Basically, they had their time. They got their 15 minutes of fame, and they're definitely a player we should stay away from. So Ellie, who is your goal from this team? Is there one player in the team of the week that you would definitely want in your team for game week 16?
Can I say one that's already in my team?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think I said it last week as well, but Trippier is just looking so good. 2 double-digit hauls in a row now. I know Newcastle face Chelsea this weekend, but I do think that Newcastle can get a result in this match. As a Chelsea fan, that kills me to say, but he's just looked so incredibly strong. He gets a lot of bonus points. He gets forward. He's on free kicks, and Newcastle are just looking like an absolute engine. I think they're sitting in third at the moment, and at this point, I would rate them to get top 4 or at least be one of the contenders. It's going to be tight, but they're looking so strong.
Yeah. Is that the same for you, Holly, or is there somebody else you got your eyes on from this team?
Well, Mo Salah, like he's back in form, he's back up front, and I feel like you can just bet on him to pop up with a double-digit return in any game at the moment. I think he's up to 9 goals in 8 in all competitions since Klopp moved him centrally. So yeah, I think Salah for me is the one.
Yeah, he's definitely goals for me, seeing as I can't get him in easily, that's for sure. Mira, what about you? Who's standing out for you?
100% Salah, and I purposely sort of didn't go Salah to KDB. Sorry to everyone that did last game week, because I just had a good feeling about Salah. Like he's been getting a bit more central, and I think that's where he needs to be. So definitely Salah on that. Got to agree with Trippier as well. I feel like the guy's fixture proof at the moment, and I know he's going up against Chelsea on the weekend, but yeah, just amazing, really, really good. Always getting a return. So not sure about the clean sheet on the weekend. Who knows with Chelsea? But yeah, Trippier and Salah, I reckon, for me.
Can I just give a shout out to Danny Ward at this particular point, because I had him in my team all the way up until game week 9 wildcard. I sold him, and the guy has kept clean sheets ever since. So come as soon, well, probably not as soon as deadline passed because the transfers count, but as soon as I can, when I make my team coming back in before the new year, he will be my second goalkeeper for sure. So he is absolute goals right now, which is probably about the time that he'll fall right back off form again. But yeah, I did want to give him a bit of a shout out. But who do we think is gossip in this team, Holly? Who do you think had a great game week, but you wouldn't be running to put them into your team?
I mean, when the goal notifications came through for Adam Lallana, I was like, Adam Lallana still plays in the Premier League. So I think, but the fact that I didn't know that he was still getting minutes probably means that it's gossip rather than goals. Like, was he trying to get a late place on the plane? Who knows? Anyway, yeah, Lallana for me.
A place on the plane. What about you, Mez? Who's absolute gossip here?
I'm on the fence with Alvarez. So I think like from
You have him in your team.
I know, but it was one of those I need 3 City players, so let me just bring him in. I think it's going to come down to the minutes now, right? Like I think Pep's flirting with us with, you know, Haaland this and this is what's going on with his foot, and so I feel like he's just playing with our emotions. It's just been an absolute roller coaster this week as well, just kind of keeping track of that. So my heart says, you know, keep Alvarez, but at the same time, I'm like, no, I think he's gonna not be starting, and so yeah, he could just be gossip at the moment. Probably not worth bringing in. But yeah, let's see. I might do something entirely different. I tend to sort of do completely the opposite thing to what I'm saying sometimes.
Yeah. Well, this is tough for me because I just bigged up Ramsey, so I can't say that he's gossip. It's a tough one. Do we really see Somerville coming on every week and like pumping in those last minute returns? I don't know. Maybe he's a bit of gossip, although he's a great price. So I guess if you can squeeze him in your team, then it's not a terrible shout, is it really, at the moment? So, okay, we will move on then to our team chat and Q&A. So make sure you get your Q&As in the chat. I'm going to end the poll, guys, now, and we've had 47% for Eze, so Mez's pick of last week is making it through again as another 1 week differential, with 47% over Solanke, 35%, and Somerville's 18%. So we'll have to keep note on that one there, Ellie, going forward. So yeah, guys, do get any questions you would like us to answer in the chat. And we will just move on now to our teams. And Holly, this is your team last game week. Would you like to just quickly talk us through how you got on and what you're kind of thinking of going forward?
Yeah, I mean, all of the things that went wrong for a lot of managers earlier in the game week happened to me as well. So, for example, the Cancelo red card, Haaland and Foden being on the bench, Mitrovic not in the squad, Andreas having his points benched. But then things picked up quite well on Sunday with double digits from Trippier, Zaha, and my captain Salah. I think before the Liverpool game, I was on like a 400k red arrow, and I ended up on a 200k green arrow. I'm 1 point off the top 1 million. So if I can get in the top 1 million for the break, then I'll be very happy. In terms of transfers, I've got 1 free transfer, nothing in the bank. I was initially looking at Foden out for Maddison or Saka, but now I'm going to keep Foden because I think he's got a good chance of starting. I've got a good first substitute in Andreas, and someone pointed out to me earlier today that he's got that infamous fixture against his old club. He's on penalties if Mitrovic is out. So I'm kind of happy having him as a first sub to cover any problems, but I need to deal with Mitrovic now. And it's going to be Solanke coming in because I've not got any money in the bank, and because I've not really got the ability to upgrade any players in any other positions either. I might as well just do Mitrovic to Solanke because he's got the fixture, he's got a bit of form, and hope for the best. I think Wilson should be okay after his sniffles.
Yeah, so I know Mctavius asked Ben and Ben Dinnery, so go give him a follow on Twitter, guys. And he said nothing major, a slight fever, replaced on Sunday due to light headaches and dizziness, apparently. So he should be okay for the weekend.
Yeah, captaincy though. My armband at the moment is on Mo Salah.
Oh, interesting. And is that just because you're a little bit nervous of Haaland's minutes?
Not nervous. I just don't think he'll get the minutes.
Oh, okay.
I feel like last week it was more difficult because you kind of needed to back Haaland as a sub against Fulham, because even in limited minutes you knew that he could probably deliver something, and the rest of the captain options didn't look great. Whereas this week, all the other captain options look really good. They've all got great fixtures. You know, you like the likes of Salah, De Bruyne, Saka, Kane. 3/4 of them are on penalties as well. Like, there's so many attractive options that you really need to think, is betting on Haaland in limited minutes worth it?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, as you say, Salah's had a nice break midweek now, so he's good for the captaincy shout, I think, this week. Yeah, in fact, let's move on to my team as we talk about my dilemma. Just before we do, Holly, what formation will you be set up then? So it'll be Pope in goal.
3-4-3.
What 3 defenders will you be going with?
Cancelo, Trippier, and Dunk.
Yeah, and Zaha, Trossard, Foden, Salah, Haaland, Wilson, and Slanky.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay then, so here is my team from last week, and I got the brilliant auto sub of Webster and his 1 point. Whoop whoop. And yeah, I had Andreas second on my bench, annoyingly. So I was kind of hoping Wilson would just stay home with his sniffles completely and not even bother turning up for his 45 minutes, but unfortunately he did. So yeah, my biggest dilemma, as you guys can see, is that I have no Salah at the moment, and it does worry me a lot not owning him. I have 5.2 million in the bank. Unfortunately, that is 0.2, maybe even 0.3 now, short of Zaha straight back to Salah, annoyingly. So yes, that would have been my move if I could have done it, even without a second's thought. However, with it being the 0.2 or the 0.3, I guess, Zaha having the lovely fixture does make it more difficult now, because the only way I can get directly back to Salah without a hit is KDB, which kind of potentially leaves me flirting with another deadline leak, which I really do not want to do this week for my own sanity. If I can help it, I don't want to do it, but it's very hard not to, because obviously if Haaland were to be benched, then it would be a very easy downgrade to Alvarez and then Andreas up to Salah and moving 5 in midfield, which I really quite like. I can do it at the moment, where I would be selling Wilson and moving Salah in via Andreas, but obviously now with having Mitrovic injured and out for the weekend, that makes that move a little bit less appealing, I think, because it would mean that I would only have Haaland up front, and again I would be in need of knowing that Haaland would start in order for that to to be a good move. So I'm a little bit stuck this week. I've seen a lot of people saying it's the easiest move in the world to go from Mitrovic to Darwin, but Holly, what's your thoughts on that? Because I'm just not sure he can cover Salah, but I also quite like him as a bit of a punt this week.
Yeah, I mean, he probably won't cover Salah. Salah is the best player in the attack. He's the focal point. He's central. He's on pens. But
Yeah.
I still think Darwin's a good pick this week, as is Firmino, as is Gabriel Jesus. Why are you not looking at Jesus? Because it's a lovely fixture for Arsenal away at Wolves. I think Wolves have conceded more goals than any other team since the international break.
Yeah, the reason I haven't really looked at him is because I feel like with Jesus, he is a player that's brilliant for Arsenal, but he's not necessarily the best FPL asset, as in, I'm like, we don't have the yellow card to worry about this week, but do I feel like he can go nuts? Maybe this could be his week, but at the same time, I could do Andreas to Saka, and I think I'd potentially prefer that than going with Jesus, just because I feel like Jesus's role is more than just being a striker for us. He will chase halfway back down the field and get the ball forward, say, for Odegaard, who then passes to Martinelli, who then scores a goal, or passes to Saka and scores the goal, if you see what I mean. He is a brilliant player, and he has changed Arsenal in fantastic ways, but it's having that gut feeling that he's going to haul, and I don't know whether I have that gut feeling that he's going to haul this week. Not only that, it would be really nice to have a player in the Sunday games. So that's my other thinking. Mez, I know you're very interested in Darwin this week. You've even thought about potentially, in fact, let's
I was just going to say also on Jesus as well, that I feel like he hurts my rank every week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A random assist, right?
Yeah.
And so he's still highly owned as well. And so, yeah, I completely agree that he's just not finishing, those opportunities. But yeah, it's risky as well not having him. So it's one of those do you, don't you type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that is a very good point, sure. Something to think about, more confusing things to think about. But yeah, but I know that you were looking at Darwin, and I know you were potentially thinking about a -8. So I'll bring up your team, Mez, if you would like to kind of chat us through.
I've talked myself out of -8. I thought
Okay.
that
As I
sounded
say,
like
that's
a great
Ellie
idea.
territory right there.
I was really close. I think like after watching, I think for me it's been sort of, being in Australia, sometimes it's really hard to watch all the matches overnight. They're sort of 2 a.m. kickoffs or 3 a.m. or something like that. And so I remember sort of, waking up and seeing all these sort of scores, like same as you, Holly, like seeing Lallana, come up. I was like, wait, what? What's going on there? But Darwin, I was like, oh, okay, I need to start looking into him a little bit more. Watched him play and just loved the positions that he was getting in. Again, a little bit like Jesus, just getting the opportunities and has so much potential to explode. So there's, he's definitely on my radar. But now with Mitrovic out as well, I'm sort of thinking, what do I do in this situation? Do I keep Alvarez, don't bother bringing in Haaland, and just take Mitrovic out and bring in, Darwin? I feel like I have somewhat of a luxury to just experiment a little bit and just make a wild move, whether it's a -4 or just making one transfer. So I'm currently sitting just under 12k at the moment, and so I'm really happy with that. That's the highest rank I've ever been. I say ever, like I've been playing so many seasons. It's only one season that I've had a full season of.
No, brilliant. It's really good.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've just been sort of picking based on, like just watching some of them play as well as the stats, and then just kind of keeping tabs of, form in general. So yeah, so I'm not sure. I think I'm sort of on the fence with a -4. That's probably going to be the most likely move. But now I'm thinking with Mitrovic out, I can't really take Alvarez out because he will probably get some minutes. So I'm almost tempted to have Haaland and Alvarez up front, and Wilson up front as well, and maybe take De Bruyne out and bring in a mid. I'm thinking Kulu, as I mentioned. I'm also thinking Saka, Maddison, even like Maddison's just got his call up for England as well, so he might be in a better mood. Who knows? So yeah, so let's see. I think I'm undecided on that. So it'll either be Mitrovic to Darwin and no hit, or but that's a huge risk with not having Haaland as well. And my captain, look, I think if I bring in Haaland will probably be my captain. It feels like it's worth it for a hit as well. It's going to be Salah.
Yeah, that's fair. Holly, you said in our Q&A yesterday about Maddison getting his call up. I can't remember. Did you say you think it's 4 or against if he gets his call up?
4, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel like there's going to be some things are going to happen this weekend because we're so close to the World Cup. Like, obviously, I don't want to stick my neck out on the line and say what, but things are going to happen. So,
Oh,
it's a difficult
come on,
one.
give us some juicy insider gossip for the
I've not got any inside gossip, but you know when you can sense that things are bubbling under the surface.
Yeah, spidey senses.
I mean, it's hard for a hit to pay off in just 1 week, but the season that you're having, Mez, I'm sure it'll just happen for you. That mentality of the doubling down on the bringing in someone for a hit and captaining them, like, it's so easy to do that, but it doesn't always pay off. Just for me, with Haaland right now, Pep had to play him against Fulham to get the win, but he didn't need to play him against Chelsea. He doesn't need to play him against Brentford. I just feel like Haaland's going to be on the bench again and only going to be used if he needs to, because why risk your best player when you don't need to, when you've got a nice home game and he's got 6 weeks off to recover from his ligament damage or whatever it was.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, why make that injury worse, right?
Yeah, or you could see it like, why not let him have this game, see how he gets on, and then give him 6 weeks off. We need to get to the top of the league. I don't know, just playing devil's advocate because I really need Haaland to start. But no, you're completely right. Ellie, my lovely, talk us through your team and we will see what we can do for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so Cancelo, I think, like most people, had a -2. Luckily, I didn't captain him. I did see a couple of people who captained him to get a -4, so I avoided that at least. I brought in Estupinian. I was convinced that Brighton were going to keep a clean sheet. They didn't. Trippier, the love of my team. He's done so well for me. And then, the midfield was kind of a mixed bag. I had Madison and Almiron, who both got returns, and then Martinelli didn't. I'm just checking. No, he didn't, and Foden came off of the bench, so that wasn't useful. I had Captain Holland. I had it on Almiron, and then I had Harry Kane and Wilson. Unfortunately, and on my bench, I had Andres as well in that second bench player position. And yeah, I really don't know what to do with my team. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm thinking if I try to bring in Salah, but I'm just looking at my team now, and I currently have it set up as Henderson in goal, Cancelo, Anderson against Nottingham Forest, Trippier, Madison, Martinelli, Almiron, Andreas, Foden, and Holland and Kane. So yeah, I would love your advice about what you girls think that I should do with my team, because I don't know, it always happens that I quite like it on paper and then it's just not really panning out this season. So yeah.
I think you've got the right 11 on the pitch. I think you've got a strong front 8, haven't you? It's
you are playing Wilson, are you, Ellie? You are playing Wilson at the moment.
Right now he's on my bench because I have triple Newcastle, and I'm not sure. Like the Chelsea game, I feel like it could go either way.
I guess because you're a Chelsea fan, that's a bit tougher. If you gotta put it aside, but I think Wilson will start. And yeah, as Holly says, just looking at your kind of front 8 from last game week, I don't think there's much I would really change from that for this week.
I agree. Got a really good team.
Yeah, it's just doing freaking crap at the moment. That's the thing. I like my team, and then it just doesn't do well. So I have so much money in the bank. Maybe upgrading a defender potentially.
Well, you could
get an Arsenal defender in, like Ben White, or you could afford.
No. Or what about Nico to Robertson?
Yeah, I was going to say Liverpool. You could probably do with a bit more red in that team.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll do maybe I'll bring in Robertson, or I don't know. And so that's kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was looking, like, I feel like I'm missing out on Salah, but I also don't quite want to sell anybody that I have
Yeah, and
replacing
you
him.
don't
Yeah.
need to rip up your team to get
No.
Salah in. Like, the
No.
trouble is this week the fixtures are so nice that all of the premiums look attractive, but
Yeah.
you can't be switching between premiums. You just need to ride it out with the ones that you've got. They could easily all haul. Like Kane this week at home to Leeds is
Yeah.
a good fixture as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe let me know in the chat, you guys, who you think I should bring in, a
Yes.
defender. That would be super useful. And if you guys have any suggestion, I know we mentioned Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been crazy with the variance there, hasn't it, this time? Like the last couple of game weeks as well. It just seems like we're all making good choices. There's been a lot of that I've seen as well. Like this team looks fantastic, but the outcome is not sort of swinging, in the way of that decision, which is such a shame. But yeah, like the choices that we've all sort of made are good choices, but yeah, it's just not sort of hitting the mark in some places. But what do you do about that, right? Like, I wouldn't change anything that you've got in your team other than bringing in, maybe a Trent or a Robbo. But again, Southampton could get a goal as well. Like, Liverpool haven't exactly been super tight on, at the back as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because if you knew that Haaland was benched again, for instance, you could easily move him to, say, Darwin for a 1 week punt, So it is tough. This is why the leaks are horrible, because you say, oh, I am not doing it this week. I'm not waiting for those leaks. I am going to make my transfers now. And then you think about how you can make your transfers without knowing about the leaks. And then you think about what transfers you can do if you know about the leaks, and it's that kind of, oh, if only I knew. If only I had that kind of information. So it is tough. Because if you knew that he was benched, obviously, then
Yeah.
a Haaland to Darwin would be nice, and you wouldn't really need to do very much else, I don't think. I would definitely, play that same setup and maybe just put Anderson in over Stopin, and so that's probably what I would do then,
Yeah.
move Andreas to first on the bench. But yeah, other than that, if you fancied a punt on a defender between Trippier and Cancelo, I don't hate that shout either for 1 week. So cool. Okay, well, let's answer some questions in the chat then, and before we wrap up. And just want to give some shout outs to some people. Stuart's in the chat, Dan's in the chat, Meggy's in the chat, Tarek's in the chat. We got FPL of the day in the chat. Hey guys, Ray's in the chat. Okay, Mitrovic out and Welbeck in. What do we think? Would you sell Mitrovic for Welbeck, Mez?
I'm not sure about Welbeck. I feel like he sort of comes in, does a bit, disappears again. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it because of the budget, or are you sort of are you constrained by the lower price point, or can you bring in someone better like Solanke, for instance? Although Welbeck and Solanke are probably similar sort of price points, I just don't think Welbeck will explode.
Welbeck's 6.5, so it's a bit more expensive than Solanke. Welbeck hasn't actually scored a goal this season, 4 assists.
Yeah,
Scored a penalty last night. Not that I'm sour about that or anything, but yeah, I think when we were looking at alternatives to Mitrovic yesterday, I think Solanke was probably the top one, wasn't he, Holly? So maybe he'd be your shout instead. Rishi says, completely stuck on what to do. 2 free transfers starting 11. Pope, Cancelo, Trippier, Perisic, Saka, Martinelli, Salah, Foden, Andreas, Haaland, Wilson, benching Mitrovic, no money in the bank. Well, I mean, that sounds like a great team to me. The only potential awkwardness is Perisic, potentially, but yeah, what do we think, Holly?
Yeah, I mean, move Andreas to first sub and change Mitrovic to Solanke would be what I would advise there.
Yes. Oh yeah. Even though you said that he could be on pens with Mitrovic out, and
Yeah, still don't rate his chances against United, but
Yeah,
he's all right as the first sub.
can we just take a moment to have a chat about Andreas and the benching that we do to the guy?
Yeah.
Every time he scores, he's like third on my bench.
I'm on third.
Oh, and to be fair, he's usually like less than that for me. Like, I never put the guy last on my bench because I always feel like he has a potential of getting something. But then I never put him first. I've hardly ever put him first when he's got something either. So I'm always just that tiny bit close of getting him into my team, which somehow makes it even worse because he's not buried buried at the bottom of my bench. Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah, you just couldn't make it up. I think like with Mitrovic being out, Fulham getting a pen, we didn't know if Andreas was going to take the pen or not. I did not even think about that. But there you go.
Yeah, Meg says Alvarez to Haaland and Mitro to Greenwood for -4. I have a lot of value tied up in Mitrovic because I've had him since game week 1, but feel like I need to get Haaland back. So yeah, this is an interesting conversation because there will be a fair few of us that have money tied up in Mitrovic. I can't remember what his fixtures are like out the other side of the World Cup, if any one of you ladies has that to hand.
Yeah.
But
Palace, Southampton, Leicester.
oh, so they're quite nice, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's only he's gone up 0.4 this season. So if you've had him since the start, you're only going to lose 0.2. I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, he might even drop tomorrow evening or something, mightn't he, the way the prices are at the moment. So I guess he could end up being a little bit less. Yes.
I would make that move though. I think that sounds good, Meg. You know, I know like you're bringing in Greenwood and will probably be on the bench, right? But yeah, bringing Haaland back and then captaining Haaland is a good shout.
I guess again, it's all depending on whether Haaland starts, really, isn't it? If he's benched, then taking a hit for him is.
I don't know about everyone else, but when he came on for however long he came on at the end there, I was absolutely sort of like.
Holly texted me straight away and was like, "Oh no, I've got Salah captain. Oh, we should captain Haaland now." And I was just like, "Come on, Haaland, you owe me." So when that first goal went in, and it was a Haaland goal, KDB assist, I was off about the house, like literally, and then I came back and they were like, "It's been ruled offside," and I was like, "You what? You what a second?" This is no fun. I do not like this. So then I kind of went into a little slump and was like, So when they got the penalty between them, I was like, I couldn't stay in the room for it, like literally. And it's not even my team, and I don't even want City to win because of Arsenal. But that's how much invested in FPL we've become. But I couldn't stay in the room because I was like, if Haaland misses this penalty, literally, I'm retiring.
Yeah. I think it was about the only time that night that my sort of, you know, my heart started sort of going, oh my God, this guy, why do I not have him? Why did I take him out again?
Yeah. He is scary not to own. He has become kind of like Salah scary levels of not owning. So yeah, for sure. Okay. How are United doing, by the way? Because I think I saw that Martial was starting. It's 0-0 at half time. So
I saw that there were only 5 shots in the entire first half, and it was like a
wow.
low
So
for you. Yeah,
we've missed a lot. Hopefully you guys are watching this instead, because clearly more interesting. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. And would you move Pope out and who to if you had 2 free transfers and not much to do? Also have Trippier. I mean, that's tough because I think if you've got nothing else to do, then potentially, but I suspect you'll have a lot of money in Pope. But then I don't have Pope, so who has Pope? So you don't, Ellie. Mez and Holly, do you guys still have Pope? What are you
Yeah,
doing
I've
with
got Pope.
him, like on your wildcard or free transfers, unlimited transfers? Sorry.
I mean, I'm kind of backing Newcastle to do pretty well defensively against Chelsea. Sorry, Ellie, but so yeah, I'm not concerned about having him. I think, you know, only I think he's the highest scoring goalkeeper in the game. Like, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he's likely to get you some points from the base anyway. So unless you've got absolutely nothing else to do with your team and you know that you don't want him after the World Cup, then I would just stick with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pope will do decent against Chelsea. But also, if it's sort of a case of just making a transfer, can you strengthen your bench? Like we've just seen so many sort of, and with the World Cup just around the corner as well, do you have players that may not play? I think there's a bit of speculation that a couple of players may sort of, be rested or, so can you do something to strengthen your bench?
Yeah, that's a good shout. Or again, just have a bit of a punt somewhere if you like the idea of it. Okay, well that's it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Holly, for joining us. Please do tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, so you'll find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Holly Shand.
Brilliant. And Ellie, please let the lovely people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I wish I had the same handle everywhere. It would make my life so much easier. My name is too long. You can find me on YouTube at Elizabeth Helenek, Instagram and TikTok as well, Elizabeth Helenek, and then Twitter is Ellie_Helenek, because yeah, I couldn't fit my whole name. And if you're a Chelsea fan, you'll also see me on Chelsea Matchday Live. So check it out.
Yeah, just before Mez, you tell us, I've just seen goal Villa, so it looks like Villa might have scored. Who was it, guys? Let us know. Mira, where can the guys catch you?
You can catch me on Twitter only. So I'm FPL Mez8 on Twitter, so I'll be on there. You may get some random messages. Sometimes I don't tweet just about FPL.
Brilliant. Oh, it's Ollie Watkins apparently. I don't know who got the assist on that one, but yeah, it was Ollie Watkins. Nobody went for him on his differential 1 week punt earlier.
Wonder why.
Just before I wrap up, I would like to send my love to Melina. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Twitter, but yeah, I'm just going through a bit of a worrying time at the moment. So please do make sure that you go and show some love for her as well. She's a great lady in the community. So yeah, please do go show her some love. Apparently the assist was Ramsey. He's too early. He's too early. It's during the week. Oh, what's going on? And apparently there's a goal to Man United. Look, they waited until we were wrapping up to get going here. So, Martial. I said it, didn't I? As we were literally said as we were setting up, watch Martial score now and he'll become the flavour of the month. So, and neither of them mentioned as 1 week punts this week. So, yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, guys, please do support the channel. Like and subscribe if you can. You will find all of the ladies' details in the descriptions below. Make sure you go check out their Twitters and their YouTube channels if they have them, and make sure you do the same there for them and help us grow. We really do appreciate it. Hit that notification bell so you know when we're going live next. Might try and be able to squeeze one in between Christmas and New Year, but we will definitely be back in the new year. But until next time, Nim fam, take care. Bye now.